Matthew, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me.
How's the sternum holding up?
I'm feeling a lot better. It's been a few weeks now, or a month and a week, or whatever, since that's happened. So it's taken a little bit of time, but I guess it's a good thing that I have the summer to get better and get back to 100% before camp.
How do you even go about healing something of that sort? Probably a lot of rest. You can't move too rapidly. Just a lot of laying around.
No, I've been able to do stuff since that, and like a lot more. It seems each week. Right now I'm pretty much back to doing everything that I have before, other than a couple of little things, and just not overdoing it right now and set myself back. But so far so good in the recovery process, and it just takes time. So I think I'm pretty close.
Yeah, and you were able to take some shifts in the Stanley Cup Final with that injury, which is pretty impressive and pretty gutsy, to say the least. So you had an incredible first season with the Florida Panthers, and that's not always the case for people who transition, who go to a new team, especially superstars. Maybe there's a bit of a step back. Maybe there's a bit of an adjustment process. How did you avoid that adjustment process, and why were you so successful in your first year with the Florida Panthers?
I just felt it was a really easy transition for me. I don't know if that had to do with my teammates, or the coaches, or the style, or just the trainers make me feel comfortable, or if it was all the above. But it worked great, and I'm sitting here saying how everything went great for me, and it was easy, but also with the back of my mind knowing that we are so close, and just continuing our goal of finishing the job is what was on our mind next year. So even though everything went, pretty smooth all year this year, we still didn't come out with what we set ourselves out to do at the beginning of the year. But I really couldn't ask for a better change for myself. And the teammates are so unbelievable, the trainers, and it really just felt like home the second I got there. It felt like I've been playing there for 10 years, first week I got there. So everybody's been so great to me. Just to see the support of people outside of the rink as the season went along, and during the playoffs was probably one of the favorite times of my entire life. Just being around Fort Lauderdale and just seeing the buzz in the whole city, and being able to do a bunch of really cool things, and meet a lot of cool people. So and I'm winning on top of that made it just that much better. So our goal is coming year is probably have a better start to the season than we had, and just try to get back to the playoffs and try to do it again.
When you laid out the way you did, a buzz for your team in Fort Lauderdale and Miami, I mean, how could it ever be better than that? But I think a lot of the questions this time last year was, why Florida for you? That was the question, but this team was coming off a President's Trophy victory, so it wasn't like you were searching for a team that was non-competitive, but a lot of people were curious, why Florida was on the list of teams, why Florida was a destination for you. What did you know that maybe the entire hockey world wasn't aware of about the market, the team, the organization, and the opportunity that you would have there?
Well, I think first and foremost was the competitiveness of the team, and how competitive they're going to be going forward. And, when you look, other than a couple of our free agent signings this year, every single player is in their 20s. So hopefully we can keep going back and getting into playoffs, and keep giving ourselves a chance, and do this for years to come, and, hopefully throughout my whole contract, which is why I signed at that time. So I'd say that was the biggest reason. I would say second was probably just hearing how well they treated their players and how great of an organization it was, starting with Vinny and Bill, and hearing great things about Paul before I even got there. Talking to all these guys before I got there made a big impact on me. So that was big, and I think last but not least, and the pretty obvious one is you get a chance to play hockey for a living, and probably the greatest place to play hockey down in Florida. So. I'm lucky. I feel like one of the luckiest guys, if not the luckiest in the NHL, to be able to to play in that place, and it truly is the best. So I'm super lucky.
Chatting with Matthew Tkachuk of the Florida Panthers. So the story of your team was one of the best of the season, I think, kind of squeaking into the playoffs there, and then obviously going on this historic run. When did you know that you guys had something special? Did your dad's comments in the media, which was hilarious, did that help give you a little boost there, light a fire under the team? But more importantly, like, how did you guys rally together, make this incredible run, and what was the turning point that you said that we have something more than what we're giving, and it's time to really produce?
Yeah, I think it was throughout the season, like early on, and some of like the December, January, February's. I mean, we weren't playing our best at all, but there were a few games where we beat some really good teams. So I remember beating Colorado in Colorado, beating Boston at home twice, and the second time scoring with a few seconds left and then winning that game. That was a huge change of the season for us, and obviously going down the stretch and winning whatever it was, 7 out of the last 8 or 6 out of the last 7 and make it. But I'd say the Boston series is my answer to your question. We knew going into the series, like, to win the series, we had to win a game in Boston, which we didn't do all season. And we won game 2 in a very, I wouldn't say dominant performance, but we just played a really solid game. I think at that point there, we realized that, it's there for us if we can do all the right things, and prepare and compete and, not be scared of this challenge. And I think I learned a lot from our team. We learned a lot from ourselves in that game too. And then we got dealt with some adversity going back home and them, playing their 2 best games of the series against us and just dominating us. So then we go back to Boston, and with our back against the wall, having to win a game and winning that game 5. I think that was the turning point for us. Just once we won that game, we knew they didn't want to come back to Florida for a game 6, and we knew that if they had to come back for a game 6, there was going to be a game 7. So I think when we won that game 5, we knew we were winning that game 6. Didn't matter how. And then, game 7, anything can happen. So definitely that Boston series is where I think we all realized that we have something here.
Yeah, that's when you got everyone's attention, of course, and Sergei Bobrovsky also coming in at that point, and that has everyone's attention. And maybe that didn't change things for you internally, but externally, it definitely, once we saw Sergei Bobrovsky playing at the level he was at, we're like, okay, there's definitely something there if he can hold up that end of the bargain. Not to say you didn't have great goaltending at times in Calgary, but I feel like Sergei Bobrovsky's performance over the playoffs was probably the best goaltending you've seen, or at least from a teammate. It was pretty remarkable, his story, his bounce back, and what he delivered to the Panthers.
1,000%. I haven't seen that. I don't even know if I've seen that on TV, to be honest. So he was just amazing and gave us a chance to win every night. I know there was probably a few games, not to say that we didn't deserve to win, but we knew we had him, so he could be able to weather the storm for 15, 20 minutes of the game while we were maybe stuck in the mud a little bit, and then give us that chance to get that timely goal where it would kind of frustrate the other team. And he was so good all playoff series long, all playoffs long, and we're just super lucky to have him, and I can't wait to see him next year. I think he's going to continue right where he left off and do that from the start, and it's going to be great for us.
So let's move through your run through the playoffs a little bit. We just touched on Boston. Let's touch on the Toronto Maple Leafs and the second round. We discuss on this show clearly all the time what it is to be a Maple Leaf, what it is to be a Maple Leaf in a Stanley Cup playoff series. What's it like being on the other side? What's it like playing the Toronto Maple Leafs in a playoff series? What's it like being, the perfect foil where there's all this attention and all this pressure on one side, and you have all the confidence in the world in yourself, in your team, in your goaltender, in what you guys are doing, and you guys are winning? What was it like being in that situation where you were beating the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Yeah, I think it's they're obviously such a great team, and playing in Toronto, they're excellent at home. And since I've been in the league against them, I can't tell you if I've won many games there. But we just had a lot of confidence, and it was like a short turnaround from the Boston series, so we were kind of riding that high. And And we know that, some of the motivation is, the market there in Toronto is it's a very roller coaster market. So we know if, once one bad thing happens, it can really, become a lot bigger thing than what it actually is. Whereas, our mindset was, if something bad happens, just forget about it and keep playing. Where in Toronto, that's kind of impossible for that to happen. It's talked about for on every single news station or whatever. So I think that we kind of used some of that to our advantage, and got off to a great start there, winning games 1 and games 2, and after that, it seemed like the sky might have been falling a little bit for them, and probably one of the hardest games we've had this year in our whole playoff run was that game 3 in Florida, knowing that, winning this game is, a good chance of putting them away. And if, they win that game, they have, life now in the series. That's, one thing we didn't want to give them or their top players, but they're an excellent team. I thought that game, Bob was unreal. Those, games 1 and 2, and then going into game 3, he just kept being awesome. And we obviously got a huge OT goal by Rhino there, and just a great performance by everybody. But winning that game was huge. And then that game 5 too, I thought we played just one of our best games of the playoffs as well. And they tied it up late. You'd think that would rattle some teams. It was like the opposite for us. And we were just such a resilient team all playoffs long. And then Cuzzy with an unreal goal in overtime, and probably one of my favorite goals I've ever been a part of. So to see live, so that was really cool.
So then conference finals, you sweep the Carolina Hurricanes. You're rolling your way through there. I think something that we love most from that series is the Bus and 10, the trademark line that I think they're selling T-shirts. You guys were just rolling, and obviously led by yourself in that sense. But the Bus and 10, the fun that was around that series, really getting to sweep, what doesn't happen often, but sweep another team. At that point, it seemed like you guys were pretty unstoppable. What was that series like for you?
Yeah, it was a very close series. Each game was by 1 goal, and they played their classic Hurricanes hockey. Like really hard to play against, in your face, throwing pucks on net from everywhere. So we definitely had to be ready. It was a very different type of series than playing against Boston, Toronto, and then Vegas. So we definitely had to be ready for that. I felt we were, and we handled it as good as we could have, and we were led by Bob. He played awesome that series and gave us a chance to win each and every game. So that was a very fun series. It was each game was super close. It wasn't like it was a totally lopsided series, but at the end of the day, there were some timely goals and some huge saves by Bob. So that was great.
Ailish said they're selling T-shirts. I hope it was trademarked by you so you could profit off that, because it was one of the moments of the playoffs for sure. Last week would be Vegas, and they were a hell of a team, clearly beating the Edmonton Oilers the way they did. Dallas was formidable, and of course you guys were as well. What was different about the Vegas challenge? And of course you were shortchanged a little bit being hurt, but what was different about that team than the other teams you faced this year?
Yeah, they were great. They definitely we're the better team that series. I think that's pretty obvious. But I wouldn't say it was a totally different challenge than Boston or Toronto. They were a different team than Carolina, so maybe it took us a little bit to kind of get back to the mindset of playing the other teams. But they were great. They played us really hard. I think the biggest difference with their team was their 4 lines were better than each.
Oh, the worst sound in the radio business.
After
we'll bring Matthew Tkachuk back
Matthew
on.
Tkachuk.
Hey, Matthew, sorry about that. I don't know whose end it was on, but nonetheless, we got you for a couple more minutes. We'll ask you about your brother's wedding, because we want to get some of the fun stuff that I know you've been able to celebrate a little bit this off season, and that's a big accomplishment for your brother to get married. How was that? And we saw some social media content. Looked like you guys had a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was one of my favorite weekends I've been a part of. It was such a great time. We were definitely telling people to keep it as low key and hush hush as they could have, but we'll blame it on maybe we'll blame it on some of Emma's friends. We're posting some stuff. I can't see many of the guys posting stuff. So still haven't figured out who's leaking it all. But no, it was a lot of fun and so happy to welcome Emma to our family and yeah, it was. They put on such an awesome wedding. So definitely one of my favorite weekends I've ever had.
Assuming you shared a beer with Mark Stone, what was that conversation like?
Well, no, I've known Stoney for a bunch of years through Brady, and he's a great player and arguably a better guy. So it was good to catch up with him just after these long seasons. I've seen him throughout the summers for a few years now. So yeah, we weren't talking hockey like you guys probably think we were, but little things here and there, and just obviously would have loved for it to be me, and I know we're going to get back there, but he was deserving. They were better than us, so there's not like we can say they didn't deserve it. So he's a really good guy, and yeah, seeing him throughout the summer here with Brady's bachelor party, and then the wedding here this weekend. So yeah, it's good to catch up.
Okay, last one for you, and we appreciate you reconnecting and joining us for the final couple minutes here. Your brother, we had a conversation with earlier this year. He said that you were the smartest player in the league. If you were to attach a superlative to your brother, how he stands above everybody else league-wide, where would you go in that direction?
I don't know. I would say that he's probably the best power forward, like the best natural power forward in the league right now. With his size, his strength, he keeps getting bigger. He keeps getting faster. He keeps getting stronger. And I can't picture many people being able to play match up against him this coming year from what I've seen. So, I'm expecting great things from him. He continues to work on the parts of his game that are going to help, turn him into, one of the best. So, he already is right up there, but I think you're going to continue seeing him, jump up the ranks because he's got what it takes and he's determined to try to get, Ottawa into the playoffs here. He's been talking about it all summer, ever since, seeing the run we kind of had down in Florida. I know it's just motivated him. I know he's really happy for me, but I know it's motivated him a lot. So, he's going to be ready to go. So, the games against him this year, I know that the guys on my team, I'll be making sure they're ready for it because he's going to be tough to play against.